Right, so for this furniture, what we want to do is work with a red color. Let's see, I have here a Tuscan red. Let's see what that looks like on the paper. And typically speaking, I like to always use a scrap piece of paper. As I'm working, so I could just kind of test and see. Alright, that's not a bad red. And that'll give us a nice kind of dark brown red, and we'll use some other reds and tones with this. Now, very important, I think you just saw that, as I was practicing on this paper, notice that it bleeds. So do make sure that you're really taking care of whatever surface, or your work surface. I usually use a piece of mat board underneath my work. Alright, so I'm going to go in and just on some of these darker sides and lay in some of this Tuscan red. Again, I'm using the broad tip because if I tried to use the fine tip to do this, it would take a very, very long time. There certainly are some nice effects you can get with the thin point or the fine point, but you don't get the same kind of movement. And then again with the broad tip, I mean, you can get a very fine line or you can get a very wide line. Alright, just going to go ahead, since I left some white space there and I have some varying grays, go ahead and almost fill that in. And same thing up here, the dark area. Go ahead and get that marker in there. A little bit of color on top. Leave a little white space. Okay, so now let's see, let's go over here to this arm. And we can go ahead and just kind of fill that space. And notice also it bleeds a little, so I already have a little bit on top because the marker bled upward. Now on the back, what I want to do, I want to give a little bit of an outline. And then I'm going to go in with the marker. You kind of have to be brave here. Don't worry too much about the stroke of the marker. And I think I'm going to leave that alone for just a second. And the same thing with the color marker. If you let it dry and then you go over an area, it'll change the value slightly. Let's go ahead and do these front pieces. It's okay if we leave a little white. We're going to go back in a second and work with our blender. Now if you need to do something to make a straight line, keep in mind I usually have a triangle or straight edge available that I've been using just for marker, so I don't mind if it gets a little dirty. Alright, get a little bit of line. Okay, now we're going to go back to our technique. Now I was playing with some colors a minute ago, but we'll throw some Tuscan red. This is our blending technique. Throw some Tuscan red on here. I already have a little bit. And then I'm going to use a clear blender. And make sure the tip of the clear blender is clean. It had a little bit of brown on it. Now we're going to grab some Tuscan red. And we're going to just kind of see what value we get there. Now remember, a clear blender won't pick up color that's on the paper and blend it. You'll have to pick that up off of a plastic plate, glass plate, and then the first stroke will be close to the actual color, and then the following strokes will be a little bit lighter. So I'm going to go ahead and fill these white areas in with a little bit. And alright, another thing you could do is this. Wet the area with the clear blender so there's fluid on the paper. Then pick up a little bit of that color. and put in, and it'll help with blending the color a little bit as well. Let's see. All right. I think good there. Now let's do the same thing, and don't worry about some of these areas that go over as we're doing our walls, and we're going to be putting some shading and shadowing back there and lighting effects, and we could do that with a little bit of pencil as well. So let's start this time. Pick up some Tuscan Red in my blender, and we'll start on this surface, this top surface. Okay, now while that is still a little moist, come in with the actual Tuscan Red. So we get a little bit of the actual color on the surface. Alright, now we could use our Tuscan Red on the side. Again, let's do the shaded areas with the pure Tuscan Red. This could be whatever color you want to use. Again, I want to do a sharper line. Just on the bottom. And if you're, really like sharper lines, you certainly can do that. Okay, now I'm going to go back to my blending method. And my clear blender. Alright. Okay. I'm going to clean off my blender. Now remember, if you don't have a clear blender, 10% cool gray works just fine as well. Alright, so now we have these two pieces going for us. What we can do now is, let's go ahead and take a little bit of white pencil and give a little bit of highlight. Again, you could use your straight edge if you really want a sharp, crisp line. The highlight just really helps pop the color out from the background. Alright, and we left enough white space, and with the use of our blending technique, that we don't really have to add too much in this area. We'll go ahead and just get a little bit of value on this arm. There we go. Don't want too much. Alright, and so there we have the soft. So this could be a tactile finish, this could be leather, You know, if you wanted to, if it was a textile, you could certainly go in and do a little bit of cross hatching with your white. Also, if you just want to be a little more creative, you could go in with your pencil and kind of have fun scrubbing in a little more color. Okay, now let's do these legs real quick. The legs I am going to just work on with the dark brown, and I'll just use my fine tip for the fronts. I'm going to add some dark brown lines on the sides. So in the shaded area, I'll just go ahead and add the dark brown. And then areas that might have a little bit of light hitting, just throw some dark brown streaks through. And again, these could be painted, they could be whatever. You can use your straight edge if you need to. Might as well do these while we're here. And then I'm going to take a light French gray. Kind of add a little light color over the brown. And then back with a little bit of white pencil, kind of sharpen up those edges. That one's fine.